everybody, it's Mel. Thank you so much for joining me today for the mid-year book freakout tag. Before we dive in and do anything bookish, I just want to apologise because I still have, unfortunately, a bit of a cold. So I am sounding blocked up a little bit and occasionally still quite croaky. Yeah, I haven't been able to shake the cold yet. I'm definitely getting better, but that's what's going on there. So the mid-year book freakout tag is a tag that most booktubers do in the middle of the year. It is a tag that is basically all about how our year in reading has been going, what books we've been enjoying, what books maybe we haven't been enjoying, and that sort of thing. The tag was originally created by one of my BookTube besties, or best friends in general, Ellie from Earl Grey Books, and another former booktuber, Chammy. I will link both of their channels in the description below. I don't think Chammy does anything bookish anymore, but Ellie is definitely an amazing booktuber that you should 100% go and subscribe to. And yeah, they created this tag, like I said, as a way to look at our year in reading and see how we are going. Let's dive in now and do the tag. Question number 1 is the best book that you've read so far in 2023. I do have quite a few 5 stars that I've really enjoyed, but for this particular question, I've decided to narrow it down to 3 books. The first one, to no one's surprise, I'm sure, is Babel by R.F. Kuang. This is a fantasy, historical fiction, dark academia book. I hesitate on the dark academia because although there were tropes that definitely fit in with dark academia, I wouldn't necessarily say that was the intent of the work. But yeah, I thought this was fantastically well written. I thought that it dealt with some really interesting topics and concepts around colonialism, around racism, around how they function within academia. I thought that it was just beautifully written. Like I said, I really enjoyed the characters, and yeah, can't really say anything bad about this book. Absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it. Thought it was fantastic and am super excited to read some more of R.F. Kuang's other works. Then we have Electra by Jennifer Saint. This is another historical fiction. This is a retelling of the Trojan War. We do follow Electra as one of the main viewpoints, but we also follow Cassandra and Clytemnestra. And I just thought this was fantastically well written again. I love Jennifer Saint's writing style. This is the second book that I have read from her, and I really enjoy the way that she approaches putting a feminist viewpoint into classic mythology and classic understanding, classic stories, and yeah, this was no exception. I just thought it was fantastic. Beautiful writing. And the final favourite that I want to talk to you about is Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. This is the first book in a trilogy, which I'm super excited to continue with. I thought this was, again, amazing writing style. This is another book that is historical fiction with some fantasy elements. So I'd say that genre blending is something that I'm enjoying at the moment, and I'm really enjoying the historical fantasy type books. This is a book about... It's been said that the main character is autistic coded, so the premise is that the character, a fairy, takes half her soul, and so it means that she doesn't have the typical approaches to relationships, approaches to emotions as neurotypical people do. And so it's supposedly an exploration of autism, but from a historical fantasy lens. I am not autistic, so I can't speak to the authenticity or appropriate representation at all, but from what I've heard, it was done really well, and I personally really enjoyed it, and I thought it was really interesting way of exploring both autism and the way that a neurotypical world treats people with autism. And yeah, I just thought it was fantastically written. I really enjoyed the characters and highly recommend that one as well. The next question is the best sequel that you've read so far in 2023. And of course, again, I can't just have one book, so I have 2 this time. The first one of those is Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second book in the Alex Stern series. This is also a bit of a fantasy paranormal take on dark academia. We follow Alex Stern, who can see and interact with ghosts, and because of that she has been put on the board of a not the board, sorry, I should say the books of a secret society at Yale University, which is the secret society that oversees all of the secret societies that are magical or paranormal. There's a lot more going on than just that, but I don't want to get into any spoilers. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I thought that it was really well written. I love the way Leigh Bardugo has blended the paranormal with dark academia, and I just think it was a lot of fun. I should say that is the sequel to Ninth House. Then we have Riviera Gold by Laurie R. King. This is the 15th book, I think, in the Mary Russell series. So Mary Russell is the partner of Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes has theoretically retired, but he still does function as a consulting detective, both for his brother, who runs a very secret arm of the British Secret Intelligence, and also for the police as an actual just kind of straight detective. This takes place in the Riviera in France, and as usual, I loved it. I love Laurie King's writing style. I think that she writes amazing characters. I absolutely love Mary as a character. She's one of the most intelligent, most thoughtful, feisty, feminist characters that you will ever read, and as usual, I absolutely love this book. Yeah, it was by far one of the best sequels that I've read so far this year. Mind you, I haven't read that many sequels, so didn't have a lot to choose from, but even if I had have read nothing but sequels, that one would have been one of the best. The next question is a new release that you haven't gotten to yet, but that you really want to. So again, I have a few answers to this question. First up is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. It is set in the publishing industry. We follow a woman who is an author, and another author who is contemporary to her breaks away and does incredibly well, as opposed to this author who has been not doing as well. And then the other author dies, and this protagonist decides to take her newest manuscript and pass it off as her own. The protagonist is Caucasian, and the author who has died, whose manuscript she has stolen, is Asian, and the book is about from an Asian perspective. So it's about sort of writing from a perspective that is not your own, and the publishing industry and how the publishing industry kind of does deal with authors of colour. And yeah, I've heard amazing things about it. Mostly, a couple of people haven't loved it, but for the most part I've heard that it's fantastic, and I'm really excited to give it a read. I think I'll really enjoy it. It sounds really interesting. Then we have The Bookbinder of Jericho by Pip Williams. This is the second book by one of the authors of one of the books that was my favourite from last year, and that book was the Dictionary of Lost Words. I don't really know much about it other than it's a historical fiction and it is about a bookbinder, but I'm expecting to really enjoy it. I loved Pip Williams' writing style in the Dictionary of Lost Words. I love the way that she explored feminism and explored the creation of dictionaries in general, so I'm really looking forward to seeing if any of those themes continue in the rest of her writing, and yeah, really want to get to this one. And then the final book that I wanted to read soon that has come out is Atalanta by Jennifer Saint. I absolutely loved Ariadne, absolutely loved Electra, and I'm anticipating absolutely loving Atalanta as well. This is another Greek mythology retelling. I really don't know that much about or anything about the myth of Atalanta, but I'm excited to read another Jennifer Saint's books and learn more about it, and plus, as you can see, it's absolutely stunning cover, as all of her covers have been. So really looking forward to getting my hands on that one and reading it. Then the next question is the most anticipated book for the second half of the year. So book that will be released in the second half of the year. Again, I can't just have one. I have another 3 books for this one as well. So the first one is Silverborn by Jessica Townsend. This is the 4th book in the Nevermore series, which is a middle grade series following Morrigan Crow, a cursed child in the first book. She thinks that she's been cursed to die on her 11th birthday, but instead she gets whisked off to another world by Jupiter North, and it's just a really fun, really beautifully written middle grade series that is about found family, finding your way, figuring out where you fit, and it's just beautifully written and, like I said, a lot of fun. So Silverborn is probably the book I'm most excited about coming out at the end of the year. But then we also have another book which I just heard about from Gavin from his mid-year book freakout tag, and that is, give me a sec, Arcspire by Jamie Littler. Jamie Littler was the author that wrote the Frost Heart series, which I absolutely loved, are another really fun fantasy middle grade series, and I know basically nothing about Arcspire other than the fact that Jamie Littler wrote it, but I'm really excited to see what else he can come up with. I think it'll be really fun, and yeah, I just would really love to give it a read. And then finally we have Dark Air by C.S. Pacat. Recently for my Ko-Fi book club, which is the book club that I run with Ellie from Elgra Books and Lana from Lore and Lullabies, or sorry, I should say India Chords. We have a Ko-Fi, the information is always linked down below, and as part of that we have a book club. The book that we read in the month of June was Dark Rise by C.S. Pacat, and the second book in that series, Dark Air, is coming out, I believe, at the end of the year. I ended up really enjoying this book. I didn't really know anything about it, so I wasn't sure what I'd think of it, but I thought it was a lot of fun, I thought it was well written, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm excited to continue on with the series. I'm not sure how many books there were going to be in the series, but there's another one coming out, so I'm excited to read it. The next question is the book that was the biggest disappointment for you so far, and unfortunately that book is Enclave by Claire G. Coleman. When I say disappointment, I didn't hate this book. I gave it 3 stars, but I absolutely love Terra Nullius, also by Claire G. Coleman, when I read that last year, and so I was expecting that this would also completely blow me away, and it just didn't. It's a dystopian, contemporary dystopian, and it's not quite what you'd expect from that type of genre, and the reveal when it came was something that I wasn't expecting, so from that point of view she did well, but just in general, unfortunately, it didn't quite match up my expectations, so I was a little bit disappointed by this book. Then we have the biggest surprise, and for this one I'm going to go with Generations, which is a Firefly novel by Tim Levin. This is a book that is based on the Firefly series by Joss Whedon, which is a sci-fi sort of fantasy blend, more sci-fi, and I just wasn't sure what to expect from this one. I was a little bit concerned because I love the TV show Firefly so much. I was a bit concerned that I wouldn't love this book and that it would be a bit of a letdown, but actually I really enjoyed it. I thought it was completely solidly written. I thought that the characters were really well done and that Tim Levin definitely knew what he was talking about, so that was a fantastic surprise, and I'm really glad that I have read it. Next question is a favourite new author, so that can be a debut author or an author who is new to you. I'm sort of cheating, I think, a little bit with my answer to this question, because I'm going to go with Jennifer Saint, who wrote Electra and Ariadne and Atalanta. I read Ariadne last year, I think, or maybe even in 2021. I'm not actually 100% sure, but I read Electra this year, and so I feel like it's probably cheating a bit because I didn't read her book. The first book of hers that I read wasn't read this year, if that makes sense. But in order to kind of feel like I can say that an author is a new favourite, I feel like I need to have read more than one book, so I have a bit of a greater amount of data, I guess, to base that on. And so yeah, Jennifer Saint is the author that I'm going to go with, and I'm super excited to read Atalanta, as I said before, and I expect that I'll really love it. So definitely want to invest more in Jennifer Saint's writing, and I really do think she will end up being a favourite author. The next question is my newest fictional crush. I don't really tend to have fictional crushes, so I'm going to actually do what I think Steph from Steph Loves did. I think it was her in her mid-year freakout tag. Instead of actually answering this question, she talks about our newest favourite romantic couple or one true pairing, and I'm actually going with Oliver and Luke from Boyfriend Material. I really enjoyed Boyfriend Material, and I really enjoyed their relationship. I thought that it was genuine. It felt really like the kind of relationship that you would potentially have. The way that it was built, the way that they both were vulnerable with each other and opened up to each other, even despite the fact that it was a fake dating enemies to lovers. I just thought that it worked really well and felt really authentic and realistic, and I'm definitely rooting for them as a couple, and I'm excited to read the second book. I believe it's just 2. husband material. And so yeah, my choice for this, rather than a newest fictional crush, is a newest favourite one true pairing, and that is Luke and Oliver from Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. The next question is newest favourite character, and for this one I'm going to go with Viv from Legends and Lattes. I read this one recently and I absolutely loved it. I've been hearing nothing but amazing things about this book for so long. I've been hearing about how cozy and amazing and just like a big warm hug that it was, and I have to agree with everything that I've heard about it. It is so sweet and it's just so easy to read and wholesome and fun, and I really enjoyed it. I thought that Viv was a really brave character. It can be really difficult to change your whole life and to start out on a totally new venture, not entirely know where that will take you, but just realizing that you need to change and being brave enough to make that change and to step out of your comfort zone. And that's exactly what Viv did, and she did it with such conviction, she did it with such love, and she was so willing and open to be such a warm and friendly character. She was open to help and to suggestions, she was open to love, and I just found it really lovely and fantastic, and I really enjoyed Viv as a character. Plus, she was a lot of fun. She is a orc, a barbarian orc who has had lots of adventures and has now decided that she wants to make a change. She wants to stop the adventuring barbarian lifestyle and settle down and open a coffee shop, and that's exactly what she does, and it's just so beautiful. And yeah, I really enjoyed her character. She was a lot of fun, she was feisty, she was a hard worker, and she was really willing to just, like I said, be really open to new experiences and new friendships and just have a good time. The next question is a book that made you cry, and I don't usually cry that much at books, so it was hard to choose. Well, it would have been, except that I actually did have one book that made me tear up a little bit this year, and that is The Skylark's Secret by Fiona Valby. This is a historical fiction but also contemporary, so we follow a woman who, I think it's set in like the 80s, so we follow a woman in the 80s who is a singer, and she falls pregnant with her child, and she ends up not being able to sing anymore, and so she moves back to her hometown. And then we also follow her mother and her mother's relationship, romance with her father, and what happened with their romance. And I just thought this was beautifully written. Like I said, it's historical fiction as well, so the mother is in the Second World War, and there was a lot of conversation around war and how that affected people. It's set in Scotland, so how it affected the people in Scotland at the time, and I just thought that it was beautifully written. I really enjoyed it, and yeah, it made me cry. On the flip side of that, we then have a book that made you happy, and for this one I'm going to go with Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. Like I said, I read this one quite recently, and it is everything that everyone has said. It's a giant warm hug of a book. It is, like it says here, high fantasy, low stakes, good company, and that is a perfect description of this book. I've heard people say that there is no plot. I wouldn't necessarily say there is no plot, I just think that it is definitely not a fantasy plot. This is about an orc, like I said before, who is a barbarian who has been on many an adventure, and she decides she's done with that life and she wants to make a change, and she decides to move to a new city, settle down and open a coffee shop in a city where no one's ever heard of coffee. And it's about her building the coffee shop. It's about her getting the coffee in and employing people to help her and building up her business, getting people invested, getting people to love coffee. It's about found family. It's just so many cozy coffee vibes. It was so much fun and it just made me so happy, and yeah, it is definitely a big warm hug of a book, and I'm so excited that I finally joined the hype and read it and loved it as much as all the people that I've been hearing rave about it for the last year and a half. So yeah, and thank you so much Paige from Pages with Paige for sending me this book. The next question is the most beautiful book that you've either purchased for yourself or received this year. Again, unsurprisingly, I have two books. The first one was sent to me by one of my amazing subscribers, Liz. Thank you so much, Liz. And that is this absolutely gorgeous cloth-bound classic edition of Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Isn't it just absolutely stunning? stunning. I love these cloth-bound classic editions and I am attempting to collect them, which Liz knows, which is why she sent me this absolutely stunning cloth-bound classic. I have read it, Great Expectations before, and I have really enjoyed it, and I'm super excited to have this gorgeous edition on my shelves. And then A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. This is the prequel to Priory of the Orange Tree. I didn't tell you anything about Great Expectations, I just realised, but I feel like you probably know if you know about classics. This is a fantasy book about fantasy stuff. There's actually a lot going on in this series and I think that it's beautiful writing. I love Samantha Shannon's writing style, and yeah, it's just absolutely such a beautiful book. I love this book and Priory. I love the way that they are decorated. I think they're just stunning. This was given to me by my amazing partner Rowan, so thank you, Rowan. Next up we have your favourite book to movie or TV show adaptation that you have watched this year. I haven't really watched that many adaptations that I've already read the books of. So I'm going to say the second series of Shadow and Bone, even though I haven't actually read, is it Ruin and Rising that's the second book in that trilogy? I have read the first one and I have read Six of Crows. I don't intend to read the rest of the trilogy of Shadow and Bone, although I do intend to read Crook and Kingdom, which is the second book in the Six of Crows duology. But I feel like I have kind of a bit of a grasp on the world in general, and so I feel like I can say that second series, also because I decided that I preferred the first series to the first book, and that's why I decided to watch the series instead of reading the books. So yeah, second series of Shadow and Bone is my answer to this question. Then we have your favourite video that you have done so far this year. I don't really know. I've been enjoying the videos that I've been doing this year. I'm not sure that I have a particular standout favourite. I did do my 2 videos that I was working on throughout last year and this year. One was my reading all of Alice Oseman books and the other one was reading popular romance books. I did really enjoy making both of those videos. I enjoyed the reading experiences for the most part of all the books I read in those series. All of the Alice Oseman books I absolutely loved. I had less success with everything that I read for the popular romance, but I did enjoy it, so I enjoyed making those videos. I wouldn't necessarily say that the videos themselves are my most proud videos. It's not like I had unbelievable editing or anything like that, but I definitely enjoyed the experience of those videos, so I think I'm going to go with those 2 videos. They will be linked down below should you wish to have a look at them and see what I'm talking about. The next question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? And I'm going to go with a bunch of books that I've borrowed off different friends and family members. I was actually watching another BookTubers mid-year book freakout tag this earlier today, and I can't for the life of me remember who they are. Faye's Parallel Stories. I found this channel because of the mid-year freakout tag and I watched her video and I really enjoyed it, and she said that she needs to read a bunch of books that she's borrowed off people, and I thought, you know what, that's a good point. So do I. I have a bunch of books that I've borrowed off different friends and family members, and quite a few of them I've actually had for quite a while, and I really need to read them so I can give them back. So I'm going to go through and show them very briefly to you now. I won't explain anything about them because honestly there's a few, but yeah. So we have City of Dragons, book 3 of the Rainwild Chronicles, which is the fourth installment in the Realm of the Elderling series by Robin Hobb. Book 4 in the Rainwild Chronicles, Blood of Dragons, also by Robin Hobb, which is the next book in that series. Heatwave by Richard Castle. This is a book that was written based off of a TV show, Castle, and in that TV show, the main character, Richard Castle, is an author and he writes crime novels, and he has been paired up with a actual New York detective with the police department to shadow her and to get more information about how she works so that he can write his stories. And they actually got someone to write the book. And it is set up as though it were an actual book by Richard Castle, who was played by Nathan Fillion, which is the author photo we have in the back here. So I don't actually know who actually wrote this book, because it is set up as though it was actually written by the character. So anyway, I borrowed it off my friend Anna, and I need to read it. Then we have Daughter of the Forest by Juliet Marilia. This is the first book in a fantasy story that is based in Ireland. I don't really know much else about it, but I've heard that it's absolutely fantastic, and I borrowed it off my friend Bibiana quite a while ago, and I haven't read it yet, so I really, really need to. Then we have The Natural Navigator by Tristan Gooley. This is a non-fiction that is talking about, it says, starting with a simple question, which way am I looking? The Natural Navigator uses little-known methods from around the world to introduce you to the forgotten art of finding your way using nature's clues. My dad recommended it, and he thinks I'll enjoy it, so thanks, Dad. And we have Songlines by Margot Neal and Lynn Kelly, and this is, well, I'll read the blurb again. It says, songlines are the means of storing and learning knowledge, ancient and modern. They are stories embodied in the land, sea and skies, to be remembered and passed on through song, dance, art, ceremony, and most importantly, through attachment to country. So, yeah, this is one that my mum thought I'd really enjoy, and so I want to get to it. And then I have The Secrets of Jin Shay by Alma Alexander. I believe this is a historical fiction. I don't know anything else about it. My sister lent this to me like literally years ago because she thought that I would enjoy it, and I haven't picked it up yet. Sorry about that, Julie. But yeah, I definitely intend to at some point read this book. And then finally, we have The Ministry for the Future by Kim Stanley Robinson. This is a sci-fi. Again, I don't know very much about this. This was actually lent to my partner Rowan by our friend Tanya, but I think it sounds quite interesting, and I thought, you know, maybe I should give it a go as well. But both of us need to read this and get it back to Tanya. So yeah, those are all the books that I need to read by the end of the year. The final question is your favourite community member. I'm not really sure how to answer this question because I honestly feel like the list is so long. So instead, I'm going to give a shout out to Ellie from Elgo Books, who was the person that, along with Chami, who, as I said at the beginning, I don't think is doing BookTube content anymore, was the original creator of this tag. And I think that it is often forgotten or not even known or just looked over that Ellie created this tag. And everyone does it, and I think she deserves huge props for that because everyone does this tag all the time and everyone loves it. So good job, Ellie. Thank you for creating a really interesting, really fun tag that we all do every single year. And if you have not checked out Ellie's channel, then you definitely should do so. She's a wonderful human. She's a fantastic booktuber, and I just can't speak highly enough of her. So go and check out her channel, please, 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 please. And with that, that is the end of the tag. Please comment below if you have done the tag. If you'd like to leave me a comment but you don't know what, then leave me a smiley face emoji because I've had a really good reading year so far and I'm very happy about that. All of my social media details are listed in the description below, so if you'd like to go and follow me on any of those other platforms, please feel free to do so. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would absolutely love it if you would subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. And yeah, like I said, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.